This is Ken Rose. It is September 14th, 2025, Adams Morgan Day. Can you just do me a favor and say your name for the camera, please?
Michelle Valverde-Garcilazo.
Okay, Miss Michelle, and do I have permission to record this interview?
Yes.
Beautiful. Now, Miss Michelle, are you from the area? And if not, where did you grow up?
So I'm not from Adams Morgan. My mom and her family, the Valverde family, grew up in Adams Morgan on 1815 Belmont during the 60s and 70s. I currently live in California. My sister and I were born in LA, and then when my mom separated from my dad, we moved back to DC, and we lived in Columbia Heights and Mount Pleasant. But my mom, Susie Valverde, Tina Valverde, John Valverde, and Evan Valverde all grew up here in Adams Morgan.
So what would you say is the biggest difference between LA and DC? Like, what are the biggest things?
So I grew up in Sacramento. I currently live in San Francisco Bay Area. The biggest difference between living in the San Francisco Bay Area and DC is just the diversity. And for me, it's like a sense of belonging, a sense of roots. Like, we live in San Francisco. My boys live in San Francisco in Marin County, but I have roots here, and yes, and just Adams Morgan. My mom was like, they're from DC. Tell them you lived in Adams Morgan. And they'll be like, oh my God. She's like, it wasn't that nice then, but yeah. So it's just, I've always heard stories, and it's kind of like a sense of belonging.
All right, so definitely a sense of community, as you have said, within this area here. Now, just as a general starting point, what is the event that we're at right now? Tell me a little bit about this, what you've seen so far.
So we are at Adams Morgan Day, celebrating Adams Morgan. Music, food, dancing, street vendors, street fair. It's kind of the vibe.
Okay, what's the biggest thing that you've seen today, or something that you've seen today that has really grasped your attention? Like, oh, that's really, really cool. I like that.
I don't know if it's been that. I was telling your professor outside, I was here in Adams Morgan back in June, and I noticed I was talking about Madam's organ, and it was just something was like, I've just noticed that there's been a change in the community since the last time, since I was in Adams Morgan in 2015. I couldn't figure out something was different about the mural on Madam's organ, and I was like, maybe the building had shrunk, which buildings cannot shrink. But I was like, there's something off, and I looked at it, and Tris Cafe next door had raised the roof to cover her breasts, so that was kind of like, I knew something had changed, but I couldn't quite place my finger on it. And then when I was looking at videos because of the whole National Guard thing, that's when I realized, oh, that's what it is. So
tell me about this mural. What is it portraying?
The mural's the infamous Madame Organ mural, and it's on the side of the building, and it's her and her big flowy red hair, and her breasts are exposed, and it says Madam's Organ. And I guess there's been a long community battle about, as I guess newbies or the neighborhood's become more gentrified, they were upset about the exposed breasts, and so there's been this battle. And so I guess the building next door raised their roof to cover the exposed breasts because it's harmful to our children.
Now, because I know you said that you immediately noticed that there was this change. So was it, which side are you on in this spectrum? You said, maybe we should have gotten rid of the mural. Maybe it's a staple in the community.
It's a staple in the community, and it's art, and it's not obscene according to the legal definition of obscenity. It's art, it's expression, and it was part of the community, and it was there, and because I don't know the whole story behind it, but I guess because somebody got upset, created a whole hubbub over something that's quite silly. We see quite, most Netflix movies are more obscene than that mural.
Now, do you notice any of those other changes throughout the neighborhoods in regards to gentrification or the preservation of what once was there? Is that a common theme that you've been seeing throughout these years?
No, but I know, like, in terms of preservation, so my uncle Evan was best friends with David Hargrove, Ann Hughes Hargrove's son. And so I know that she worked to save the McDonald's right there on 18th and Belmont. David and his dad still live in the in Teddy Roosevelt's summer house right there on Belmont, and then which is like 2 or 3 doors down from my family's house. And my family, my grandfather Walter Valverde, he sold, and Carol Valverde, my grandparents, they sold their house I think in like 78 or 79. And they sold it to a gay couple, which is pretty kind of revolutionary. And they moved out to Alexandria and Bellhaven. But the couple maintained the house as a town home. And it was very important for them that this was like a family home and the Valverde family home. And they recently sold the house to another couple. And from what I could see online in terms of the real estate pictures, it's like one of the only remaining fully intact townhomes in Adams Morgan. It hasn't been converted to condos yet.
Okay, I mean, a beautiful thing. We definitely appreciate that. Are there any other staples within the neighborhood or the area in which you're familiar with as somebody that grew up in the area, so like restaurants or...
I mean, Adams, Madam Morgan. So David also did the electrical. So yeah, I think that's like the one staple.
Okay.
That and the McDonald's.
Do you wish that it wasn't that way and that there were more places, restaurants, bars that were still open from the time, or do you appreciate the welcoming of new?
It's kind of weird because like the last time I was here when I was in Adams Morgan in 2015, it was like a different vibe, and somebody else was telling me this too. Like there were more bars, there were more hookah lounges, like it was a different kind of vibe. And I've kind of noticed, like just walking down the street, like this is my second time back this summer in Adams Morgan, and I think it's a little bit more of a different vibe.
Do you feel like that shift in vibes has been apparent through the Adams Morgan Day event at all, or is it still relatively?
I think the guy outside your professor was saying like it's since COVID things have really kind of changed, and it used to be a much more like bigger community event in terms of just more robust, more music. The whole street was kind of shut down. There was just more, maybe like more energy, more excitement. And like I've seen pictures of Adams Morgan's Day on like TikTok or on Instagram. And it does. It seems kind of sporadic. I'm staying in Shaw right now, and I was there last night for like Art Fest. And it wasn't like I was like, oh, it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be like a whole bunch of art and stuff. And it was just it was much more mellow, and it just didn't have like an energy about it. It didn't have there weren't like a lot of I went to the library and to see the dragon dance, and they were supposed to have all these exhibits. I thought it was gonna be this whole big thing, and it was just kind of like the dragon dance, and that was kind of it. So I don't know if it's don't live here in DC. I want to relocate back to DC, so I can't say if it's like just a shift in the fact that DC is like gentrified and really changed, and a lot of those like long-term families are no longer in DC, or if it's COVID, or if it's because of the current administration and the National Guard and this whole like federal policing of DC the last month.
Now, kind of snowballing off of that point that you had made, I think that is very profound. But the fact that there are so many changes, and it's a great thing, but then there's also kind of like, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for that. So my last question for you is as it pertains to this event,
Uh-huh.
or Adams Morgan, or DC, or Shaw, like you said that you wish to move to, or where you're staying at right now.
Yeah.
What do you envision for this area in the next coming years? Maybe things that you hope to see, or maybe things that you kind of wish would go away a little bit.
I think like a lot of it's gonna sound bad. Like I was at the diner eating, and just the entitled 20-year-old white girls, and like they were sitting there and we're having breakfast, and they're looking at Morgan's Adams, and they're looking at that balcony, and they're like, oh my God, is that even like up to code? And I told the waiter after they left, like, dude, that building's been here longer than you've been alive. Like, that kind of thing. Like, it is, first of all, it's just obnoxious. And it's just this, like, I don't know if it's sense of entitlement, but not understanding like there's a place in history and these things are here, and that's what makes the community unique. Any community, right? Like U-shaped corridor and like Ben's chili house, like those things just make DC, you know, and the diversity, and like that's what draws me back to DC, whereas in like California it's pretty monochromatic. Here there are shades. And so just that comment was just like it was just such an obnoxious comment, and not understanding that this is like a staple in the community, and just not understanding a sense of place, you know, with these young 20-year-olds who are like here for their congressional internship, so like they know, and they're from they're here in DC living their best life, but they're not part of the community.
Now, again, I know I said that was the last question, genuinely the last question. Do you feel that there is a way to, because we would like to advance, and you know DC is all about community and accepting people into the community and kind of building off of that. Do you feel that it's possible to continue to grow while also maintaining the true history, or does it go back and forth?
I think it kind of goes back and forth. Like my grandparents' house just sold for like $1.7 million. So I don't know who in the federal government is making $1.7 million or can afford a almost a $2 million home. I think it's, you know, I remember even like a couple of years ago, I was here in DC with my family, and we were staying out in Southeast, and I kind of joked with my husband, we were at this hotel, and I was like, we were like across the street from a housing project, and I was like, we're in Southeast, not Navy Yard. This is like, and then my mom called me up, and she's like, are you in Anacostia? And I was like, no, but I am in Southeast. But even like back in the day, like we left DC because if we had stayed in DC, we would have lived either in Southeast or out in Baltimore in the 80s. And that just wasn't, you know, single mom raising two daughters. That wasn't like, you know, safe. But even like being out in Southeast, like, yeah, it wasn't the Southeast of the 80s. And then like I saw this thing on TikTok where these like white guys are riding their like bikes in Anacostia, and I kind of like made it. Yeah, and I kind of made this joke like, oh, two white boys out riding their bikes in Anacostia, and someone had responded, oh, Anacostia is like really safe now, and like, oh my God, I was just like, it was a joke, like, you know, but it's like pushing out like the flavor, and the community is being pushed out of DC. I mean, the same thing's happening in California. Like I can't afford to live in California. And people are being pushed further and further from the community. So I guess to answer your question, I don't know. And I think right now, you know, DC's in a weird spot because of all the federal firings, and yeah, because of all the firings and because of the Trump administration and basically their attack on DC, that it's pushing a lot of, I imagine it's pushing a lot of long-term residents out of the area. And in fact, I was speaking to someone when I was flying out here who worked for the district government, and she had just retired and she can't even sell her home right now because the housing market is kind of stagnant because of the Trump administration. So I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see what happens in 4 years.
And we're more than happy to welcome you back in. I know you said you want to come back in, and unfortunately, all the best that we can do is just hope for a better day.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Ms. Michelle.
You're
for
welcome.
Your time here. You did a wonderful job.
Thank you.